Naaman the Syrian, when he came to the prophet, or when he came to present himself before the Lord, expected something spectacular, something more profound, and something special to match who he was, his rank and social standing, as the spectacular, more profound, and deserving of special treatment, highly esteemed and respected army commander that he was. And to show that, he brought with him 10 silver talents, 6,000 gold pieces, 10 festal garments. These were signs of his greatness, and he would give this to whoever it was that would heal him. And notice that he was sent first, or he went first to the king, because you go to someone who's great if you're great. You know, he didn't go find this prophet that was probably living in some hut somewhere and didn't look all that great or appealing. And yet there's one line in this passage from the second book of Kings that says it all and brings Naaman down to size and puts everything in perspective for us. But valiant as he was, the man was a leper. Now, Jesus in the synagogue at Nazareth makes reference to the healing of Naaman the Syrian. And he makes reference to the healing of Naaman as something that is good. And yet his reference to Naaman outrages the people of his native town of Nazareth. And I believe that part of the reason that they were outraged is because, in essence, what Jesus was doing was challenging their pride, their ego, or their sense of entitlement, that said that they deserved something special. It didn't have to be a lot, but we all have something that makes us just a little special. You know, we're all special in some way. We're all important in our own heads. We mean something in this world to ourselves. You know, that's how we all probably make it through life quite a ways. You know, I mean something, you know. And what he was telling them is that just like Naaman, for them to be healed, they would first need to humble themselves, or they would first need to be humbled if they were going to truly experience the power or the healing of the Messiah. This humility was necessary if they were going to know who Jesus really was. And just like all of us, we say, well, just show us who you are, and forget about this humbling thing or this matter of humility. Come on, you're one of us. We knew you as a kid. What's so special about you? We know that that is kind of going through their heads from another passage in the scripture. Doing all these special things that we hear about for all these other people. And what is Jesus ultimately telling them? He's insulting them in many ways. Sure, I am doing profound things in the neighboring communities because those people are coming and presenting themselves in humility and begging for healing. They're acknowledging who they are as sinners. And so the implication is that Jesus is giving to them is that the people of Nazareth were acting like Naaman the Syrian prior to his conversion. And notice that he says there were many lepers in Israel at the time of Naaman, and none of them were healed except this foreigner, because none of them were submitting to God. They were hard-hearted and stiff-necked. They were proud and unrepentant. They were unchanging. They were unyielding, just like a child who can get into that mode of operation or that mood that there's nothing that can be done with them. And so we leave them alone. If that's how you want to behave, then sit there. If that's how you're going to act, then go stand in the corner. If that's how you want to be, then go do it in your room. Because I can't do anything with you. I can't get anywhere with you. And that's what Jesus is telling his fellow citizens there from Nazareth. That's how you're behaving. Like all of the lepers in Israel at the time of Naaman, they were suffering because of their unrepentance and their hardness of heart. And here comes Naaman, presents himself pre-conversion. And he says exactly what we do. The Jordan? You have got to be kidding me. I came all this way to talk to this man who looks like that, and he says I have to go into the Jordan? But I'm worthy of the great rivers of Damascus, the Abana and the Pharpar. Or is it more, they are worthy of me, the great rivers of Damascus? Isn't that what we say? They're worthy of me, receiving me. Does anybody know who I am? This special one, this important one. Or he asks that question, why does he have to do it this way? Why do I have to go down to the Jordan? I thought that he would come out, stand there, invoke the Lord his God, move his hand over the spot of my leprosy, and I would be cured. Why can't he just do it this way? You know, this is the right way. This would be the profound way. This would be, he doesn't have to do all, there doesn't have to be fireworks going off and everything. There doesn't have to be an earthquake. But just this profound, you know, the prophet praying, rubbing his hand, and I'm healed. This is Naaman's idea of the way it was supposed to work. It was his way. And so what's happening in his conversion and ultimately his healing is that it comes through an act of humility and an act of resignation to the divine will. And it's through these servants who beg him and say, come on, if the Lord is going to ask you to do something, if the prophet would tell you to do something spectacular or extraordinary, you would do it. If you'd have to go stand on top of a mountain for 5 days straight and sing Tura Lura Lura and you would be healed, you would do it. You know, I know you say that this is how it's supposed to happen, that the prophet's supposed to come out and just rub his hand over your wound, but that's not what's happening. Just go do what he's telling you. Just try it. And what happens with Naaman is he realizes in that process who he really is. We go back to that passage toward the beginning of what we heard today in the first reading. But valiant as he was, the man was a leper. And he came to grips with that. I'm a leper. And so I need to go down there to the Jordan and wash myself 7 times. This is what the will of God is for me. And this is what I'm supposed to do. This is the way it's supposed to be done. And just like all of us, the people of Nazareth don't want to be challenged on their pride. And they don't want to be told to drop this or that one secret thing that sets them apart in their own minds as being special. And they certainly, just like the rest of us, do not want to admit that we are sinners.